good mini section. Let's just start sitting and coming back to that sense of connecting to the lower belly muscles and the pelvic floor, but from a seated position, which could be quite different. Maybe place your hands right on your lower belly to feel that. And if you feel better sat on a block, if that feels less stressful to your hips, feel free to do that. Or even sit on a chair for this. That would totally work as well. All right. Inhale, let your belly and pelvic floor relax. Exhale, engaging your lower belly, and then the front, mid, and back pelvic floor. So inhale, slow relax of everything. Exhale, engage front, middle, back. Do that a few more times. Noticing how this is in a seated position. And I want you to keep that going, but we'll be doing a little bit of twisting. Just take your hands onto your knees. As you exhale and engage, just rotate your ribs to one side. And then inhale back to the middle. Exhale, rotate your ribs to the other side. Just a mini seated twist, focusing on moving your rib cage. Inhale, releasing to the middle. Exhaling, twisting, connecting to your lower belly, pelvic floor. Doing that a few more times. Observing how it is to bring a bit of twisting movement. Which will start to involve our oblique muscles, which is the next layer of the core. Your oblique muscles are helping you with twisting movements. Okay, then next time you come to the middle, I want to do like a mini side bend in the same way. So you'll inhale being straight. Exhale, let's come into a side bend either way. Connecting to your belly, pelvic floor. Inhale, back up to the middle. Releasing, exhale. Just a mini side bend to the other side, but finding the connection to core and pelvic floor. So now doing this a few times. Really just a mini side bend. But paying attention to your core and pelvic floor. Hence why we're not waving our arms around. Great. And then next time you come up, we're going to transition onto being on our sides. So this kind of thing. So you could support your head with your arm, or maybe even a block or a cushion if that doesn't feel okay on your shoulder. I'm going to use my block's less comfortable than my arm. There we go. And now I want you to, we could do this with we'll do it without a block. So what you're going to do is keep your knees together, but lift your top foot up and lower it down. So let's do it in this pattern. So just take a breath in to begin. Then as you exhale, engage your pelvic floor and lift your top foot up, keeping your knees together. Inhale, release, bring your foot down. Great, so exhale, engage your front, middle, back, pelvic floor as you're lifting your foot up. This does make it very interesting. Inhale, foot lowers down. Let's do maybe 3 more of those. Okay, now take your arm that's on top, wrap it around your head. What you'll do this time, next time you exhale, you're lifting up your foot, but also lifting up your head. And also maybe engaging your pelvic floor, and then inhaling and lowering down. Just 2 more of those. And then after that round, change over onto your other side. However makes most sense to do that. You could just roll onto the other side if that makes sense. Whatever you need to do. And again, set yourself up on the other side. Have your head supported on your arm or a block. Let's just work with the legs to begin with. So inhaling, pelvic floor and core are relaxed. Exhaling, just lifting your top foot up, knees stay together, connecting to your pelvic floor at the same time. Inhaling, lowering down. You could try connecting to your lower belly here, but there's a lot less involvement of your lower belly in this. And then wrapping your top arm around your head. And next time you exhale, you're lifting your head up and also lifting the foot up. Also maybe engaging your pelvic floor. Inhaling, slowly releasing down. Again, noticing what parts of your core are involved with this. Okay, just one more. And then just come onto your back to rest for a moment. Tuning into your pelvic floor. And feeling or imagining a subtle movement outwards as you breathe in, and a subtle movement inwards as you breathe out. Okay, next we will go to doing some more poses with the hips elevated. Now for this one, it's useful to have a slightly wider support. So if you happen to have a bolster in your life, a bolster is great for this. You can use the bolster for today. But an alternative, if you don't have a bolster, is 2 blocks of the same size, whatever size your blocks are, whether they're thin or fat ones. Or you could take like some blankets and fold them so that they're making a little platform, like a little stack of wide folded blankets. So improvise with whatever you've got, and then I'll show you. I'll just demonstrate quickly what we'll be doing, so you've got an idea of it, so that when we go into it, you've kind of the shapes make sense. So it's best to come down onto your back without the platform, otherwise you have to lean back a long way, and then insert your platform underneath the back of your hips. First thing we're doing, oh actually you need a third prop for this. First thing you're doing is oblique toner. So you'll be in this kind of position with an extra cushion or block between your thighs. And then we'll be exploring just taking the legs from side to side, possibly also taking the arms the opposite side at the same time. So that's the first thing we'll be doing. The second thing we'll be doing, you don't need the block between your thighs, but we'll be doing scissors, scissors, and straddle. Basically moving your legs around whilst you're lying with your hips elevated. So if you kind of set yourself up ready for this, find yourself 2 blocks or a stack of cushions or a bolster, lie down first and then insert your thing underneath the back. Yeah, like blankets on top of blocks is nice sometimes. And this is not about, you don't want a super amount of height. So this is not about going to a maximum height. You just want a little bit of height. Maybe, yeah, great. All right, and then you'll need a third prop if you've got one. If you don't have a third prop, just imagine it, or use a coat or something like that. And then you're going to put that in between your thighs. Great. So let's start just by focusing on the legs. So you've got this prop here. Okay, so there's two ways around to do the breathing. Let's just try it both ways. So first you'll inhale and take your legs just to the left a few degrees. Then exhale, bring your legs back to the middle. So inhale, take your legs to the right, just lightly squeezing onto your block. Exhale, back to the middle. And then explore, how is that with the pelvic floor activation? And then let's just reverse the breath on that. So let's inhale with the legs in the middle. Exhale, engage pelvic floor. Come into this mini twist. Inhale back to the middle. Exhale, mini twist the other way. Inhale back to the middle. Okay, and so continue with whichever way around the breath suits you. If you also want to add the arms in, if you interlace the fingers together, and then next time your legs go to the side, your arms will go the opposite way, bringing your elbow down to the floor. And then everything comes back to the middle. And then legs go one way, opposite arm comes down to the floor. Great, so continue to play with that for a few rounds. Noticing your core. This is very oblique because it's very sort of twisty. And also exploring how you can connect your pelvic floor at the same time. As your arms come to the side, you could also look towards the arms. And when the arms come to the side, maybe you could bring your elbow all the way down to the floor. Okay, maybe once more to either side. And then when your neck's back in the middle, if you remove your block or whatever is between your thighs and then bring your legs down one by one and just take a pause. Again, having some resting time with your hips elevated. Now deliberately softening in your core and your pelvic floor. Okay, we'll come back to this resting position in a minute, but let's try the other exercise, scissors, scissors, straddle. So if you pick, you don't need the extra block this time. Pick up one leg and then the other leg, and then if you can, straighten your legs. Otherwise, your legs could be a bit bent. That's totally fine as well. We've not really done anything to stretch out the legs, so if they don't want to be straight, don't worry about that. All right. I'll show you the movement with the legs first, and then I want you to tune into how you want to bring your pelvic floor into it. Just inhale with your legs in the middle. And then exhale, take your left leg towards your left shoulder and take your right leg the opposite way. Inhale, bring both your legs back up to vertical, towards vertical. Exhale, other way, right foot towards right shoulder, left foot going the other way. Inhale, legs back up. Exhale, take both legs out to the sides. So it's like a straddle position. Inhale, legs come back up. So that's just sequence. Exhale, come into scissors, one forwards, one back. Inhale, both legs back up. Exhale, scissors the other way. Inhale, both legs up. Exhale, both legs out into straddle. And then keep going with that. And feel if you can be engaging and relaxing your pelvic floor at the same time. And if you find you want to do it the other way around with the breath, that's totally fine. Do a couple more rounds. And then some point in the next 2-3 breaths, then finish off with this. When you're ready to come down, bringing your legs back together and then 1 foot down at a time, back into bridge. And taking a rest. Again, finding and feeling what is it to deliberately relax. Because often people think, I need more strength, I need more engagement in my pelvic floor, but sometimes part of the problems that people have are because they're over tight too much of the time. So we need both. We need both to be able to engage and find the strength when we need to, but also to release and let go of tension and not be holding excess tension when we don't need to. Okay, to come out of this, if you slightly lift your hips, move your platform off to the side so you can then come down to the ground. And just sort of do anything you need to do to readjust to not being on the platform. I want to put one more thing into this sequence here. Then we'll have a mini break and then a little chat and then we'll do a bit of Yoga Nidra. But let me show you one more thing. This is something that you will need the end of your mat up against a wall for. And you will need, you'll need a block. Or you could use the bolster again for that. But what you'll be doing here is I'm kind of measuring myself up so that I'm sort of, my feet are hard against the wall. And then coming in just a tiny bit, putting the support underneath the back of my hips again, and then bringing my feet onto the wall like that. So it's like the back of my hips are elevated, my head is on the floor, and my feet are on the wall. And we'll kind of hang out here with both feet on the wall for a bit, and then we'll also hang out with one knee up. So if you set yourself up like this, and I've got my feet slightly pressing, they're not hanging off the wall, I have got my feet very slightly pressing into the wall here. So it's kind of an active engagement through my feet with the wall. Head and neck and shoulders are quite relaxed. But there's an extending over the front of my body, front of my belly, front of my hips. Maybe you can do the pelvic floor breath here. Maybe it'll be a little bit harder to access. I mean, I find with my feet a little bit wider, I can just about access the pelvic floor breath, but don't worry if you can't. What I actually want us to focus on with this is a deep core thing where you have psoas muscles, which basically go from the front of your hips through to the back of your ribs. They cross through your abdomen. And those muscles can often be a little bit tight and weak. But this pose here, where you're pressing the feet into the wall, is quite an interesting way of maybe accessing the psoas, maybe toning the psoas muscles a little bit. So you're kind of here breathing deeply, connecting to your belly, pressing your feet into the wall. And I'd say have your feet the same height as your hips. So for all of you, you take your feet down a little bit. And if you feel like you want sort of more of this, then you'd take your feet lower down as well. You might need to adjust yourself a bit closer to the wall to do that. So kind of the lower down you take your feet. Yeah, so you can almost, sometimes you can bring your feet to the wall, not to the wall, to the floor. You're still pressing them into the wall. And you might get into it a little more, if that feels appropriate. And then keep one foot on the wall, but bring one knee towards your chest. It won't necessarily come that far. You're actively staying connected through your foot on the wall. Maybe take whichever knee you've got up, just take your hand onto that leg just to support it. Actively pressing through the foot on the wall. And then change legs, bring the bent knee down, place that foot on the wall, and bring the other knee in. So kind of, what's more important is pushing through the foot on the wall. It doesn't really matter how close your knee comes in. It's not about bringing the knee in, it's just bringing the knee in somewhat. It's just changing the pattern of what's going around the hips, but it's not necessarily, you don't need to bring it to your chest. Noticing your belly, your core. Okay, and then to come out of it, if you bring your bent leg down to the floor, bend the other one so you've got both feet on the floor. And remove your block, bring your hips down to the floor. And then, whatever way makes most sense to you, coming back to sit upright. Thank you.